Welcome, SFL Nation, to SFL Honors. I'm SFL Commissioner Cameron Irvine, joined tonight by the owner of the London Knights and the offensive coordinator for the East All-Stars tomorrow, Liam Crowder. How you doing, Liam?
Hey Cam, yeah, I'm great. Really glad to be here. It's been a while since I did one of these broadcasts with you, so looking forward to seeing who wins tonight and looking forward to the All-Star Game tomorrow. I put in place a playbook. I think really going to give us a lot of passing, a lot of running with the ball, get some points on the scoreboard for the East team, and see a really good game. We've got some great players in the West, and looking forward to kicking off the festivities this weekend tonight.
Oh, it's going to be so exciting this weekend with SFL Honors and the SFL All-Star Game tomorrow at 5 Eastern on 11 Sports and for the fans. The league takes one last look at Season 14 before it officially turns the calendar to Season 15 with Tuesday evening's schedule release show airing at 7 p.m. Eastern on 11 Sports and for the fans. It's our chance as a community to cheer for all the brilliant accomplishments, whether these nominees win or lose tonight. We saw some amazing games, harrowing performances, devastating losses, and in the end, a community that came together for the love of what we do here. We've seen old faces return, new faces hit the field in SFLM, which will ultimately result in the largest draft class in SFL history. Not all the new faces will get picked, returning to the minor league to build up more value while the freshest of faces enter into the league throughout Season 15. As the league works to build depth at all positions in the SFL, we've never been more strong together in an effort to #make an impact. What do you think, Liam? What are you most interested in seeing tonight?
I'm interested to see who's going to win the real major awards. Most valuable player. You got Marcus Dunhill. He's just coming out of Atlanta. He's had a great season there, winning the championship, and it maybe he can cap that off and end his playing career with that most valuable player award, which is the most coveted award in sim football. So you got other interesting highlights as well. Johnny Pickler's made a lot of sound about getting the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I've been pretty clear on my feelings on Johnny, but I think he's in with probably the best shout of any of those in for that award. You maybe got a bit of a wild card like Liam Hammer in there as well, and I'm clearly biased towards him because of the name, but we'll see what happens.
As I am to Cameron Curtis. It's great to have your namesakes playing out there somewhere and having some success. Tonight it's about those who #made an impact in the greatest of ways in Season 14. Let's start with the Game of the Year nominees. Carolina at New Orleans. New Orleans defeated Carolina 44-38 in the first SFL triple overtime game in the regular season. Queen City at Denver. Kappa Jones' 100-yard interception return for a touchdown, along with Hacker getting 222 yards. But Denver won the game. Hacker also had 2 touchdowns in that game. St. Louis at Chicago in Week 7. Johnny Pickler leads game-winning drive in overtime in Chicago, 36-30. London at Jacksonville. Jacksonville stuns London in a back-and-forth game, 35-27. And finally, Jacksonville at Vancouver. Vancouver beat Jacksonville 40-37 in overtime on a wild fumble bounce game-winning field goal. Also nominated was Chicago in Tulsa's Hail Mary game from Week 1, but it received the least amount of votes. Liam, your thoughts on this slate of Game of the Year performances? We just had some phenomenal games in the SFL.
The pain had gone away and it's back. You bring up the Jacksonville game, which Frank contacted me. Great friends with Frank over in Jacksonville, and he said to me, I can't believe that game. And I think it says something about the competitiveness of the league. We didn't necessarily have the best season in London, but we really took a great team like Jacksonville to the wire, And you know, it just is what it is, and we're gonna build up and we're gonna get stronger for next season. But you know, it's a great slate of games. You know, that Carolina New Orleans game, I was I was on the edge of my seat the entire time watching that. I think that may have got my vote in this instance, but you know, all of these games are real competitors, and you can pick out of any one of them. So.
Bob Funk says, I voted for the fumble bounce game. Hike the Earth said, I will never forget that crazy fumble. And Sharknado thinks you're from Australia, Liam.
You're wrong side of the planet.
We do have Jacob Clears from Australia, so we do have Australian representation in the SFL, so that's awesome. Well, we're ready to unveil the winner of Game of the Year, and the winner is
5 of 11 here today.
Jacksonville and Vancouver.
Going with that same empty set look. Pepper in trouble. Hit as he's thrown into coverage, and it's popped up in the air as a fumble. It's still alive on the turf, and no one's going to grab it. Looks like Vancouver finally falls on it, but is short of the line to gain, and that's going to bring up a 4th down. Are you kidding me?
That must have been one of the most wild plays I have ever seen in my time watching the Simulation Football League. The makes the catch, is absolutely destroyed, blows it up in the air. I'm not sure it was even possessive to begin with, but here's a field goal to try and win the game, folks.
Not a gimme here for Sammy Steele, a 48-yarder to win the ball game. Low snap, gets it up. Steele gets it up and on the way, and it is through! Vancouver is on to the next round!
What a game, Liam. I mean, that fumble, in 14 seasons of the SFL, we have never seen a pinball like that. And just the fact that it brought up 4th down, and Brett Killian recovered the fumble, and just the whole thing was just crazy.
You know, when the ball goes flying out like that, you know, your heart is going to be in your throat. You know, you feel like vomiting. And I know that those Vancouver players must have been feeling that way when they saw that ball go flying out. But, you know, a great diligence to recover it and, you know, get the win there over a team, like I mentioned, Jacksonville. They've got such a great coaching staff and a great, you know, franchise structure. And, you know, they would have been heartbroken by that. But you know, it just speaks to the level of attention that every team in the SFL, you know, when you get a bobble ball like that, you need to be there to retrieve it. And I think Vancouver did it in that instance. But, you know, things could swing the other way next season. Maybe Vancouver won't necessarily get so lucky. We'll see what happens next season.
Jared Willis in all caps says, all right, I'm out. not the best of start for Jacksonville tonight, but at least Liam and his Knights get vindication after London had that defeat to Jacksonville. It was another nominee for Game of the Year. Jacksonville had some insane games all up and down the schedule this year. It was crazy.
If I had $1 for every time something crazy happened in a London game, I think I would have retired by now from the SFL. So, you know.
Well, that was great stuff. Lots of good games. Lots of good coaches in this league as well. Coach of the Year is next. Here are the nominees. Your nominees for Coach of the Year are Andy Hamilton, who produced the #1 points per game offense, #1 total offense, top 4 in 6 of 8 offensive categories. Alan Armati's #1 in points per game defense, #1 in pass defense, #1 in total defense allowed, and also only allowed 7 passing touchdowns, which is a just absurd number. Eddie Gage of Arizona on the defensive side of the ball was a force as usual. #1 in forced turnovers, #3 in pass defense, #4 in total defense. Nathan Blake, otherwise known as Gerald Smith of St. Louis, had produced the #1 quarterback rating as head coach, had a record turnover differential for St. Louis, and that helped the Gladiators into the playoffs. And finally, Mark Chisholm of Atlanta, top 5 in 10 of 18 offensive and defensive overall rankings, plus captured the season 15 championship. Liam, what stands out to you? Maybe who you think might win, but also, just maybe your biggest surprise of the season as well.
There's some great coaches here. Gerald, obviously, I know very well from his time in London. I was really proud that he, sort of took, there's a sort of heritage, as you have in the, real life NFL and football and colleges. You have that heritage of playbooks being handed down and learning things from other coaches. And, Gerald really built on some of the concepts that we developed in London, and I'm really glad for him that he managed to get. It's a team that I care about a lot, St. Louis, and for those guys to get to the playoffs and to build upon, a foundation there is really great. Andy Hamilton's another great coach I know a lot about. We chatted this off season, talking about some concepts, and I learned a lot from him. I could say the same for him, learning a lot from me, but I'm not necessarily sure that's the case. So, but he's another great guy, another great coach. He's really come on leaps and bounds, and we saw that in the last season with getting Vancouver, as close to the championship as they've ever been. I think when you sort of, I think in terms of my vote, you've got to go for someone like Mark. Mark went and led that team to a championship, an Atlanta Swarm team, which has come so close in the past, but fallen just short. And to take that next step and go and get to that championship and win it, really, I think he, really does deserve this award. You have to be an all-round great team, and you've got coaches in there who lead in certain statistical categories, but to be top 5 in so many of those categories is just amazing. So I think probably Mark would get my vote here, but again, it's another great slate of candidates for this award, so I'm excited to see who gets the win here.
All right, who gets the win? We find out next. The Coach of the Year of SFL Season 14 is...
Being an older player
Chisholm
that's been here and seen a lot of things, seen a lot of game in 2K8, it's definitely, you need to work at it and understand different things about the way the game operates. And these younger guys need to not just jump in and be like, oh, this is not doing this, and get frustrated and leave. It takes time. You know what I'm saying? This is season 7 for me. And I just learned some things. Each season I'm getting better, learning, putting in the work, grinding, simming, staying in the lab. And if you're dedicated, you will see the fruits of your labor.
So Mark Chisholm of the Atlanta Swarm gets Coach of the Year. Liam, you touched on it, but just as another point, it's one thing to win a championship. It's another the way that Atlanta did it in terms of, they had never really gotten super far in the playoffs before this season, but something clicked, and Mark is the definition of, a grinder. Just keep working at it. And it really clicked this season for Atlanta. And because of all those past struggles, it really shows the growth in what Chisholm did this season compared to other seasons. And I think that's ultimately why he won.
Well, it's interesting because, going back to just after I joined the league, I remember when I was in St. Louis, and, one of the things which I always remember is Atlanta, I think, missed out on the final day because of St. Louis. I think we beat them on the final game of the season. Probably not Mark's happiest memory, but when you go from being in season 9, every single season improving, and as he mentioned in that clip, and, he absolutely has done from a play calling perspective. He's got to be one of the best play callers in the league now, and it is a testament to, his commitment and his all-round ability in terms of building a team in conjunction with Marcus, who's going to be a great loss to that Atlanta organization. And, just being able to go and take that next season or take the foundation that they built on this season and take that into the next season and be able to retain that title. Because, you know, once you reach the pinnacle of the mountain, it's all about whether or not you stay there. And, you know, you've seen a team in the past in Alaska which did that really successfully under Max. And now we're going to see whether or not Atlanta can take that. And they absolutely have a coach in which they can trust that they'll be able to take that and keep that that spot at the top of the mountain. So
A little note on Atlanta. When I was working for the championship game, prepping for the championship game, I was cutting up highlights, and I saw a Siege post championship. I saw the Siege Falco touchdown from the championship game. He was in the slot, ran a little out route. It's like a 5-yard touchdown, and I said, I've seen that before. And I went back to a game where I think they were playing Seattle. Almost exact same situation, Liam. 5 yards out. They run the same play out of the same formation, and Falco scores a touchdown. And I thought, that is just the most unbelievable thing. Like, how did that happen? And that's all coaching right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, there's certain, you know, types of ways that coaches build their playbook. And you know, how I mentioned about Gerald sort of take some of the concepts that we worked on in London and take those into St. Louis and really build upon them in a far better way than I ever could. But to like play stuff out the flats, get the power running game going, and you will see certain coaches will have those sorts of elements in their playbook. So it's not surprising at all to me that Mark has dialed in a certain situation where this is my play, and to have the players who can perform that play to perfection is really a key thing to have for any franchise in the SFL. So, you know, congratulations to Mark. He's absolutely in with a chance of, you know, retaining not only the championship but that Coach of the Year title next season. It's absolutely down to him whether he wants to do that or not, and I have no concerns or questions at all about whether or not he's capable of doing it. So congratulations.
Next up is the Community Ambassador of the Year, and the nominees are Ashley Jackson, the two-time winner, by the way, through her coverage of the league, player interviews, and Discord activity. Brian Craven, through his podcast, minor league coaching, and mentorship of young rookie players. Mike Improta, through his do-it-all excitement and social media activism, and if you have not seen his recent video of him running, it is a much watch. And Rochelle Colston, top 5 in Discord activity, helps in statistics and broadcasts, and has offered some great support to some SFL members during COVID-19, making over 100 masks. Part of that SFL community, but a part of that her own community, while we all deal with the situation with COVID-19 here in the United States and around the world. Your thoughts on this list? I think it's the best list we've ever had in terms of ambassadors, Liam. We just have so many great people in the SFL.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're getting bigger and bigger as a community every season through having a TV deal with 11 Sports, and you know, it is telling that you know, some of the names here just so much in terms of what they do, not only in the SFL community but also elsewhere, and it's really great to see so many names, not only in the Discord but just in terms of on league broadcasts and stuff like that. And even tonight, you know, people just getting engaged. I'm really excited to see Ashley on this list again. You know, I think through her work on the podcast and her enthusiasm, Ashley has just done so much for the league over the past few seasons, and you know, she is absolutely in with a shout to win this award again. But that's not to overlook the work that's been done by the other names on this list. You know, Brian Craven, I was listening to his podcast. He had some great interviews, and you know, I think that, you know, the SFL is all about giving a voice to players and player power, you know, in a sense. And it's really important to me to make sure that those who don't necessarily have the voice as much as some people in the league. I'm an owner. I have a very loud voice in the league. League staff and support staff. To be able to give a voice to the players is really crucial. And I think every name on this list does that in one way or another. And long may it continue. And it speaks to importance in the draft as well. I know for a fact that people who have done stuff in terms of beat writing. Matthew Slim, for example, a great friend of mine and someone who had such a huge impact on London. His work on the beat and writing team in the past. That really stands out. And if any rookie is looking to get noticed, be a good ambassador for the league and for your community and for your team, and you will absolutely stand out.
4 great teams. Well said, Liam, by the way. 4 great teams, 4 great people. Only one can win, but regardless of who wins, we know they're all very special to our community. The Community Ambassador of the Year award goes to...
I can't wait
Ashley
to see you on the other side of the field too, Ashley. I appreciate that. And again, what you've done on the field and off the field has been very big, and I respect that a lot. And continue growing and continue this podcast, because honestly, it is making a difference out there. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and I sure will. I'll see you soon.
Please.
All right, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. I really do appreciate all of you when you take the time to do that. If you want to be on the show, please don't hesitate to ask me. I'd be more than happy to have you on. Just DM me or contact me somehow. We'll get it, get our schedules to match up so we can do this. It was a pleasure. I'm looking forward to bringing you another great podcast next week. But until then, y'all have a wonderful day or night. Stay well out there. Striker out.
I got to admit, Liam, first off, she's the first 3-time champion of this award, joining Florida as a member of the first 3-timers club for championships anyway. But first 3-time consecutive winner of this award. And I got to admit, Liam, every once in a while, just be alone in the house, and I will say AJ Striker, because I can't get enough of it. It's perfect. Ashley's awesome, and the community just keeps supporting her. 3 years in a row, Community Ambassador of the Year, unbelievable.
I think it says so much about Ashley as a person, a personality in the league, for her to win this award is it 3 consecutive times?
Yep. She's
won it now. Yeah, I mean, it was a real amazing experience for me to go on the podcast. Because when I spoke to her, she is so giving of her time, and it's so interesting as well, the balance of I have my own work. You obviously have stuff that you do as well as the SFL, and a lot of people have given so much time to the SFL amidst all the other things that they do, and that is a real sign of just how much the SFL means to so many people. And Ashley, it was so interesting because whilst we were doing our interview, you got the calls in the background, and it's amazing how she can balance it all and be so calm. And she was calm the entire time, and just such an amazing personality. So I'm so delighted for Ashley. I think it probably puts her into I'm not necessarily gonna say it's a Hall of Fame contention, but it's certainly getting around to it, winning that award 3 times straight, because personality means a lot in this league. But I just want to say as well, everybody who was on that list is a winner as far as I'm concerned, and it is, just keep doing what you're doing, because it means so much to everybody in the league for you to be there and to contribute your time no matter what you do. So congratulations to Ashley, but congratulations to those other nominees as well.
She'll be a part of a new community playlist on our SFL YouTube channel. If you are a multimedia content creator, not just for your team content, but for league content as a whole, and you're on video or you're producing video, please get in touch with me and join that growing team and community that we're trying to put together, the community playlist on our SFL YouTube channel featuring AJ Stryker, Kramer, we've seen some stuff out of Epic Esports. Tim Walsh has put together some great highlights of the minor league. So looking to put together lots of content, more content for our YouTube channel. And if you're interested, please let me know. She'll be a part of that coming soon. So from Community Ambassador to Moment of the Year, here are the nominees. The Rookie Draft, the live Rookie Draft. League and team staff gather in Massachusetts for first in-studio draft, and that's Phoenix Jones giving the thumbs up. You can see him tomorrow on the All-Star Game at 5 Eastern on 11 Sports and For the Fans. St. Louis making the playoffs. The Gladiators make the first trip to the playoffs in franchise history. SFLM's kickoff. The SFL's minor league launches with 8 teams with a quadruple header. And by the way, the first game of that SFLM season is one of the top 15 most watched videos on our YouTube page in league history. So that just goes to show you the amount of support it got from the jump. The virtual halftime show during the championship game, the Hurricane Shane Band makes history and plays in front of the Atlanta Swarm fans. And the championship MVP, Marcus Dunhill, retires a winner, taking MVP honors and the trophy. Liam, this is my favorite list ever. God, what a fun season.
Can you have a guess as to what my vote would go for in this list?
I don't know, honestly.
It's got to be the virtual halftime show. That was a surreal, but it honestly an excellent experience, because it's just something we've never had before, and the way that the league is redefining how some of these things go. Getting a TV deal and broadcasting a game, which whilst amazing is, it is a bit of an old game now, APF, and it's a shame that we're not seeing any game coming anywhere close to the sort of quality that we see within the SFL. We saw that fumble earlier, and the way that ball just went flying, and those sorts of moments you can only get in a game like APF. So, in terms of the nominees that we got here, the rookie draft was a great experience as ever. Staying up at 4 a.m, and maybe not this time around, Cam, but getting to see people in the flesh, and really feeling like there is a face that you can put to the name. The one which is dearest to me, of course, is St. Louis. I'm such great friends with the ownership team there in Colin and Dwayne, and obviously Gerald managed to take them to the playoffs this off season, and that was really great. It's been a bit of a difficult off season for them, but that is a moment that will stay long in the memory for them, and it's a shame that they were one and done, but I'm sure that they will be back soon. But for me, I think, whilst the SFLM kickoff, it's been something which has been wanted for so long, was great. It's got to be Marcus Dunhill getting the MVP trophy. I know that he does so much for the league, and he does so much for the Atlanta Swarm. His loss will be felt by the Atlanta Swarm going into next season. But Atlanta's loss is the league's gain, because he does so much already, and we're really glad to have him. So that's probably got to be my pick. Marcus getting the championship MVP there.
This is a tough one. The chat is torn. Pickler says live rookie draft or Gladiator playoffs. Demora saying Massachusetts is home. By the way, Carolina said, what about hashtag Pickle6? I would agree with that. It was such a long list that it was on the outside looking in. I think any other year that probably makes it in, because that was certainly a moment that we all remember. Let's see. There was some more guesses here. Chase Earl says St. Louis playoffs. Bob Funk rooting for SFLM. So a lot torn here. So let's get to the winner. The winner, the moment of the year from season 14 is
Dunhill gets to get a standing
Dunhill
ovation
with
from
the MVP
crowd here at the Hive as Rod Harris comes in to take the knees. What a moment that is for Dunhill. He just does so much for his community, and he's done so much for this community. He was general manager for a while, helped build up some of these players, along with Mark Chisholm, who's just done an incredible job building this organization, a model franchise in the SFL. They do just about everything exceptional here in Atlanta. And, the Swarm were able to get it done for their city.
So there you go. Dunhill gets the MVP, walks off, and it couldn't have happened to a better person, Liam. Now with our staff, he's done a phenomenal job transitioning into his new role. And quite frankly, that very, very, very few players play their last game and win a championship. In fact, Dunhill, it's not true for him either. He'll be in the All-Star Game tomorrow. But in terms of the record books, it was. So something to truly treasure, because it happens to almost nobody.
Well, when you compare, director of player personnel, you look at the playing careers of the guys who have gone into that position. I think it's pretty fair to say that Andrew Rastelli doesn't hold a candle to Marcus Dunhill in that regard. So you got a championship MVP and a guy whose arm nearly fell off at the Baltimore Crab. So sorry, Andrew, I had to chuck it out there, but absolutely well deserved for Marcus. He has really deserved, all the success that he had the last season, and we're looking forward to seeing him not only as a player but now as a builder in terms of what we do in the league infrastructure. And I've already had some great conversations with him, and looking forward to moving forward with some of the cool stuff that we're doing. So yeah,
you better hope Rastelli's feeding his kid right now, and he's not around to chew your head off.
He'll do it at some point, I'm sure. So.
Well, we've reached the point in the night where we unveil the first Commissioner's Franchise of the Year award, awarded to the team with the highest marks on, but more importantly, off the field. Each season's winner will be a result of team's excellence every day, even when games aren't being played. From apparel to locker room to social media to player personnel, the league has collected data points from all teams across the league to help our franchises grow, meet new bars, and challenge themselves to be the best. This season's Commissioner's Franchise of the Year award goes to the Atlanta Swarm. And here are some of their achievements off the field. First in Sector 6 apparel sales. Tied first in game day social media activism. Tied first in game day chat engagement. Third in ScoreStream live updates. And fifth in overall locker room activity. And I know it feels like this is somewhat of an Atlanta show, Liam, but just as much on the field, they have been tremendously solid. A leader off the field as well. They get the #1 overall ranking and the inaugural Franchise of the Year award.
Yeah, congratulations to Atlanta. Again, it does feel like an Atlanta show, but ultimately the team which performs the best should be the one that gets the recognition. So congratulations to Mark and the Atlanta Swarm. It is amazing that we have all these opportunities available to us as franchises now. You've got the Sector 6 stores. We're looking to expand our social media presence and really engage with people in, more so than we ever have done before. It's really great for them to be able to take the foundation that they've built over the last couple of seasons and get to this point. So congratulations to Mark. That trophy cabinet is very much swelling at this point. So congratulations.
And a lot to live up to. It'll be interesting to see what their schedule looks like on Tuesday during the schedule release show. That's going to be a lot of fun. We have a huge panel for that show. I have no idea how I'm going to put that together. Before we move on with honors, we must acknowledge some hard work and efforts done by the Director of Communications and Communications staff behind the scenes that help make our product so great. These individuals and the teams they represent took things to the next level this past season, distributing franchise record books to broadcasters so crews could track milestones for the team and its players in real time. These individuals help broadcasters gain valuable information about the action while tracking everything from pass completions to tackles for loss, drive summaries to third down percentage. These unsung heroes help take the SFL to the next level, even when you may not realize it. Our distinguished list of thank yous include Robert Garrett Jr., Gerald Smith, Jacob Clear, Tom Rahman, Mark Chisholm. Forgive me, we'll get that list back up. Stephen Hacker, Mike Improta, Rochelle Colston, Mark Lopez, and a special thank you to teams and their communication directors that provided record books to broadcast this season: Arizona, Chicago, Denver, Jacksonville, Queen City, St. Louis, and Vancouver. We look forward to other teams joining that list as well for season 15. Liam, your thoughts on this list of very hardworking individuals? Robert Garrett was one that represented London this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Robert is, he's moved on from London now, but he did such a great job during this season, and I was really grateful for all his efforts that he put in. Doing those stats is not easy. I remember back when, we didn't necessarily have the resources that we did now in terms of doing stats during the games, and it was tough. It always was tough, and it is a lot easier now with having those resources, but it's still a tough job. And to do more than 6 games with those live stats it is such a benefit to the commentators and the staff who are working on the games that it is really great for the league and for the broadcasting experience and what people are watching on the field to get that input, and it really goes to speak to the professionalism of the league. London's name isn't on that list of providing the record books, but I can tell you now, we're going to work on getting that information to the broadcasters, and I expect that next season that will be a full list of all the teams that are in the SFL, because we're all going to be looking to step up and meet the bar that Atlanta has set out for us all. So,
for teams that did not have people statting games this season, thank these people for making your broadcasts so awesome in your absence. Okay, back to the awards here tonight. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty stuff. Now we're getting into the player awards for spectacular performances. We begin with the Special Teams Player of the Year nominees, and those nominees include James Troll, 33 of 36 made field goals, records for both field goals made and attempted in a season. Anthony Cece, 29 for 29 in career field goals, most for kickers with 100%. Harish Prasad, 8.1 punt return average, 30.2 kickoff return average, and 3 kickoff return touchdowns. Chase Earl, 7.2 average on punts, 26.3 average on kickoffs, and also 3 kick return touchdowns. And Mark Lopez, 5 yards per punt average, 28 yards per kick average, and 3 kickoff return touchdowns. I love, Liam, how this league has developed into a league full of outstanding returners. Having an outstanding kicker can really be valuable to your team. This is definitely the best list, and the first year that we've had a Special Teams Player of the Year award. And how could we ignore that part of the ball any longer?
Yeah, I know that the Denver Nightwings owner, Jeremy Vega, has been real. He's been effusive in his desire to have a Special Teams Player of the Year. So I think it is overdue. I've always been a fan of having that real great player returning your kicks. We had some great names in London: Jeff Melanishin, Gabriel Manning this past season. We had Jeffrey Daggs, who developed into an all-star kick returner in Mexico City. So that side of the ball is so important because it gets you points, and the return game is so exciting in the SFL. There are some plays which you will see some of the best moments in the league come on punts and on kickoffs, and it really changes the dynamic of the game when you've got guys here who can really make an impact on those sorts of plays. So it goes in terms of the kicking game. It just goes back to the adage of our own Max Paul. Kickers win championships, I suppose. So and it is absolutely true. Kickers are such a commodity in the SFL, and for those rookies who are going into the SFL draft thinking, I'm not necessarily keen on being a kicker, you will always have a job in the SFL if you have a great kicker. They are massively in demand. And I expect down the line that punting is going to become a real option as well. Punters have maybe not necessarily had the look in that they had maybe in the past, but as we see teams continue to develop, the punting game is going to be more influential than ever. And there has been some great punting this season. We've seen some stuff get in, within 5 yards of the end zone and really put teams in the corner. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. Anthony Cece, to get 100%, James Troll did get the record, but to get 100% on those field goals is really an achievement. So it'll be interesting to see who exactly wins, but we don't necessarily have a bar to set for this with it being a new award. I'm interested to see who exactly wins.
Earl, Prasad, Cece, and Troll all getting a lot of love in the chat. So the chat is torn on this one. Let's find out who won it. The Special Teams Player of the Year award goes to 51 yards. Anthony Cece.
Career high. High snap. Good hold. Cece's kick is on the way, and it's good just over the bar.
Wow.
Oh, my. His perfect season continues.
Welcome to the playoffs. That's great kick.
Chicago 24, St. Louis 17. You're watching.
So he kicks his career long in the playoffs, and Anthony Cece, with his never miss attitude, wins the first Special Teams Player of the Year award in the SFL. So the Wildcats get on the board here tonight.
Yeah, that's a great win for Cece there. I think it really tells you something about the quality of kicker based on how consistent he is. If he can hit that 100% mark, he just pays for himself. That's a ridiculous amount of number of points you get on the board there, and you got to think about all the the extra points he gets during the season as well. And I'm sure that he probably did not miss any of those. I don't have the exact stats to hand, but that's a great win there for Chicago and for Anthony Cece. Congratulations to him. And he's going to set the bar now for guys going forward. Are we going to see some returners get some special teams awards? Are we going to see kickers dominate that award? We'll have to see what happens next season.
All right, now on to the Defensive Rookie of the Year award. And the nominees are Lee Adama, 43 tackles, 17 sacks, and 25 tackles for loss in his season with Vancouver. Mel Davis, 115 tackles, 80 solo, 7 tackles for loss, 12 passes defended, and a pick in his rookie season in Denver. Mark Gronick, 111 tackles, 73 solo, 9 tackles for loss, and 6 passes defended in his rookie season with St. Louis. Josh Reese, 88 tackles, a tackle for loss, 5 passes defended, and 10 interceptions in his season with Charleston. And Forrest Stark, 103 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 5 passes defended, and a pick in his season with Carolina. Your thoughts on the defensive rookie class this season, Liam?
It's been a good class. I think I've got a soft spot for linebackers, and to see some of the guys who have developed this season has been really interesting. You know, Leadama, they call him Apollo because he's like a rocket getting to that QB. So I'm really interested to see if he continues to develop in Vancouver and really get to the next level in terms of what he can do on the field. But you know, there's not a lot to split between all of these guys. You know, I think that they all have different areas of the game which they thrive in. You know, that those particular stats, you know, the 17 sacks and the tackles for loss for Leadama really does stand out. But you know, you could put a playing card in the gap between the levels of play of all of these defensive rookies, and I'm really excited to see who wins this one.
All right, so believe it or not, this category was separated by the thinnest of margins of any category. The winner wins by 2 votes, Liam, over 175 cast. 2 votes.
That's amazing.
The winner for Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to third and Mel Davis. Luyendula pump fake, now fires middle of the field. It's intercepted, thrown into a crowd, and it's Mel Davis making the play. Davis, one of our spotlight players of the night, and what a time to be a linebacker in the SFL.
Yeah, what a time to be a linebacker. He's averaging 10 tackles a game. Last game he had 10 tackles, 3 pass deflections. This is his first interception.
So Mel Davis gets the honor, and Denver gets on the board tonight. Liam, your thoughts on Davis? He had a tremendous season, and Denver, while they did not win the championship, they certainly, I think, probably exceeded expectations under a new coaching staff.
Yeah, you know, a real bright spot in what was a difficult season for Denver. You know, I've got previous in bringing through some real strong defensive names when they came into the league as rookies. You know, likes of Slyn Shady and likes of Jeff Melanishin, and you had to have a linebacker who you know, really forms and is able to be anywhere on the field is such a benefit to your team, and to have someone like that in that sort of position, it is just such a boon. And you know, I can't say enough about just how good he has been this season. So congratulations to Denver to have Defensive Rookie of the Year on your team. I'm looking forward to seeing what Mel's capable of doing next season. He's got to keep up that level of performance, because if he lets up, then he will be overhauled, I think, by maybe some of the offenses. You know, I'm an offensive guy, Cam. I like to see linebackers getting burnt sometimes by running backs, but you know, to have a guy who is all over the field and able to use that closing speed to get to the running back or the wide receiver who's coming onto the ball, and to be able to make plays on the QB as well. That's such a huge benefit to Denver to have someone like that. So congratulations, Mel, and looking forward to seeing what you can do next season.
All right, now on to the Defensive Player of the Year. And the nominees are Jeff Duffy, 57 tackles, 24 sacks, and 30 tackles for loss. Zane Doty, 59 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 8 passes defended, 13 interceptions, a record for picks for a corner, and 1 pick six. Those two representing Queen City and Carolina, respectively. Evan Arthur, 56 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 9 passes defended, 8 interceptions, and 3 pick sixes, including 2 in the same game, another SFL record. Tank Bennett, 158 tackles, 122 solo tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 7 passes defended, and 4 picks. And our apologies for the graphical error there on Bennett. And Forrest Stark, 103 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 5 passes defended, and a pick. We covered
in the Rookie Awards just in the last category. Your thoughts on the nominees here for Defensive Player of the Year, Liam?
Yeah, great slate. As strong as we've ever seen in terms of Defensive Player of the Year. I got previous with Evan Arthur, used to be in London. Great guy. Great to see him performing up to the standard that we would expect in St. Louis. The other guy here who really piqued my interest once upon a time was Tank Bennett. He was a guy we had our eyes on a few seasons back in the draft, and that's a bit of a missed opportunity in London, but he's done such a great job in New Orleans, so congratulations to him for being nominated. I'm seeing a lot of love for Zane Doty. 13 interceptions. It's an interception a game, Cam. It's unbelievable turnover. Yeah, I mean, that really stands out to me. And Jeff Duffy, I think I think it's so tough. It's so tough. Any one of these players could get it. But Jeff Duffy with 24 sacks, I mean, it's unbelievable. Some of the stats that some of these defensive guys are putting up, like, make no mistake, the offense is such a key thing in terms, you get points on the board, but defense wins championships, and all the struggles that you will go through in terms of game planning for the defense as well, and trying to go up against a high-powered offense. To have guys like this on your team really helps you in terms of what you want to do in terms of game planning. Sending someone like Jeff Duffy into all these different situations, and someone like Zane Doty in all sorts of situations in terms of defensive coverage. So exciting times in terms of defensive play in this league when you got some of these players in here. I just can't pick between any of them, Cam. I think it's a toss-up maybe between Jeff Duffy and Zane Doty, but anybody could win this award. And it's so difficult.
It's kind of overlooked, too, the 158 tackles of Tank. He led the league again. Now, you can say, well, tackles for that many for a safety means that their defense was bad. Well, how about 122 solo? He did it all by himself, didn't need any help. That's 19 more than Forrest at linebacker. I mean, well done to Tank, whether he wins or loses on that achievement, leading the league in tackles back-to-back seasons. Your Defensive Player of the Year is
Duffy. 16 and
Jeff
a half
Duffy
sacks last year. I'm sure he's looking to beat that mark. Nice inside move on the offensive line to get to the quarterback quickly, not give him an opportunity to get rid of the football.
King in trouble again, and he's going to go down again, this time from the side. I think, actually, that was Jeff Duffy once again. His second sack in as many plays.
2 plays in a row, he throws the exact same move, gets inside, beats 69 on the offensive line, and just absolutely gives King no chance whatsoever.
Seems like forever since that snow game, Liam, when both Chicago and Queen City were 0-1. Ended up making the playoffs and winning playoff games. So who cares about winning or losing week 1, right? So Duffy gets the award, and just a phenomenal season. He's in the chat, so congratulations to him. As you said, Liam, very, very tough decision. Ultimately, the voters decided his dominance, 2 sacks a game up front, wreaked just too much havoc on opponents.
Yeah, well, from a guy with a D-line player to another, congratulations, man, because, the defensive linemen have come along leaps and bounds in terms of just how they are developed in this league. And there was a real paradigm shift with what Jacksonville did a few seasons ago in terms of having a full defensive line, and that line was stacked. It could have been a defensive player in its own right, that whole unit. So to have a guy who goes and delivers the sort of production that Jeff Duffy does over the course of last season, all of those players were great, but that just puts you over the top. And congratulations to Queen City for having someone who will really be, I think, the bedrock of the team going forward. So congratulations, Jeff, and looking forward to seeing what you can do next season.
All right, now to the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. Your nominees are
Johnny Pickler of St. Louis completed 71% of his passes, 2,848 yards, 7.3 yards per attempt, 20 touchdowns to just 11 picks, and a 97 QBR. That was second best in the SFL, only behind Dunhill. Jet Zero, fullback of Queen City, was used a lot in the Corsair offense this year, probably more than most expected, 692 yards and 4 touchdowns for Zero. Liam Hammer in 5 games caught 29 passes for 590 yards, 20.3 yards per reception, which was best in the league, and 9 touchdowns in 5 games. And then Saren Storm of the London Knights, 817 yards, 19 yards per reception, and 5 touchdowns. He was electric, is the only word I can describe Saren Storm in his rookie season. So, interesting class of guys here, Liam, because you've got Hammer with the 5 games of experience, Zero, kind of a 3 yards and a cloud of dust kind of guy, Storm, electric, and Pickler, who I don't think anybody knows who he is, but he's still a good guy.
Yeah, I've not really heard much about Johnny Pickler, so I've got to avoid caught in controversy, I think, maybe here, because it's such a difficult choice this off-season for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, I think probably one of the things I would say is I'm surprised that, out of the guys that we've got, no, maybe the offensive rookie class just wasn't as strong as we thought it was last off-season, and I think that will definitely change this coming season. But to have someone like Liam Hammer, no discredit to Liam Hammer, he did an amazing job whilst at Chicago with some of the plays that he made. But to get on that list with 5 games played is such an impressive thing to do.
That's got to be a record, right, Liam, for least games played and being on honors?
I mean, I've never seen that. I've never seen that before. But, he's made a career for himself now, with that tenure during Chicago. And I know he's not in Chicago anymore, but, that gave him the stature to really be able to go and do what he does now. But I think that, across the board, I mean, is Jet Zero still in? He's staying in Queen City. Am I correct in thinking
I believe
that?
so. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he's the only. I
think they moved him to running back.
Yeah, I think that it's telling. I'm a big softie for fullbacks. I'll probably say that. I really like the fullback position. I think it's really underrated. I really like that Jet is staying put and staying with a team in Queen City that is the old time dynasty, the sort of I don't want to say the Green Bay Packers, maybe, if you will, of the SFL in terms of what they've done in the past. And Eric Barkley's such a great guy. I think he will do great there. Johnny Pickler's moving on. Liam Hammer's moved on. Saren Storm moved on. Saren Storm said to us, he wanted to move on for the betterment of his career, but he's on this Offensive Rookie of the Year list, so we must have done something fine. So, fair
Very
play.
Nice, Liam.
It is a, this is a league of opportunity, and if people want to go and explore opportunities, and Johnny Pickler has maybe courted some controversy this off season with what he's done in terms of the way that he's tested the market, but he's been very successful in doing so, I think we would say. So I think it's difficult to look past Johnny, but it's interesting to see. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Jet. We'll see what he does this coming season in a different position. But we got some interesting guys here, some great performances this season from all of these guys. Let's see who wins the award.
All right, the Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to an 11 for Pickler. Johnny Pickler. Throw. Again, a clean pocket, deep shot, corner, caught, missed tackle, Harrelson, 20-10, Sean Harrelson, touchdown, St. Louis.
What? It starts up front. The offensive line gave Pickler plenty of time to let that play develop. Just look at that. Wasn't even touched. Able to get the ball, into Harrelson's hands, and he took it to the house for his 5th touchdown of the season.
Can St. Louis and Chicago just play every week, Liam? That was so much fun last year. We've already shown 2 highlights. Pickler gets the Offensive Player of the Year, and most of the chat was on board with the just hand it to Pickler, and Johnny puts an award in the case, and wherever he ends up, we won't know necessarily if he'll get to play St. Louis again because the schedule was set, and because he hasn't made a decision, there was no way for the league to put that rematch for sure on the schedule. So we'll see what happens if he gets to play the Gladiators next year or not, and we'll see where he ends up going at a later date. But congrats to Johnny on the award.
Yeah, congrats to Johnny, I suppose. Yeah, congrats. No,
Come on, Liam.
No. Let's be entirely honest. He did definitely deserve the award.
You just wanted Liam Hammer to win. You have a lot of bias in this poll.
Just because of the name, that's compared to the guy who plays for my own team. You're suggesting that I would want someone over him, so I wanted Saren to win, no doubt about it. I'm a homer. I'm a homer through and through. But yeah, congratulations, Johnny. It's going to be interesting though, with everything that has happened this off season. It's going to be more important than ever for him to keep up that level of performance. And I'm not saying he can't do that, because there's teams which are in the running for him, like Atlanta and like Louisiana. He's got a consistent coaching background in Louisiana if he goes there. And he's got a situation in Atlanta where he's got a guy who just won Coach of the Year. So, fair play to him for playing the market. But he's got to keep up that level of performance, and that's only going to come through working with your coaches, building your player as best as he can, and he's got to make that step to the next level now. We got a team into the playoffs, a team which was really struggling into the playoffs, and the guys in St. Louis will be really grateful for that. But he's now got to take his abilities and the most important position in the game, push them over whatever team he goes to the next level. And it'll be interesting to see if Johnny Pickler can keep that up. But yeah, congrats. He's saying about his haters. I'm not a hater. I like what Johnny does. Just he pushes the boundaries. It's interesting. Interesting times.
Johnny Pickler. We'll see where he goes in the offseason. That'll be some exciting stuff when it happens. All right, Offensive Player of the Year. We got 2 awards left, Offensive Player and MVP. Here are the nominees. Marcus Dunhill's 72.5 completion percentage, 3,402 passing yards, 9.1 yards per attempt, 29 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, and a 105 QBR for Atlanta. Sioux Falls, Colin Hart, 1,531 rushing yards, 6.3 yards per carry, and 16 touchdowns. Pseudo Nakai, 1,530 yards, 7 yards a carry, my goodness, 17 rushing touchdowns, and 18 total touchdowns. Stephen Hacker of Queen City, 1,598 receiving yards, 16.3 yards per reception, and a whopping 14 touchdowns. And BDG Hollywood, 1,505 rushing yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 13 rushing touchdowns, 16 total touchdowns. What a full cast of offensive weapons. What do you think about the list, Liam?
Yeah, this is a great list. Great list of offensive players here. I'm such a... You know what I'm like about running backs, Cam. As someone who had the talents of Registry as account on for a couple of seasons, running backs are the bread and butter of the type of offense that I like to play. So it couldn't please me more to see guys like Colin Hart, Pseudo Nakai, and BDG Hollywood in the mix. And if I had all of them, I would. If I could have all of them, I would. But I think out of the bunch of them, Pseudo Nakai, I'm changing my mind by saying his name, because Colin Hart, he is. So first of all, Pseudo Nakai has maybe got more of a build for trying to play more of a power running game. But Colin Hart you could split him out wide, and he is probably one of the best receiving running backs in the league. So, and then the pure brutality of someone like BDG Hollywood, it's
Oh, I love
amazing.
that.
You know, the talent that we got. So
The brutality.
yeah, but more so not trying to put BDG down, but he's like the sort of maybe more of a Ray Bentley type player. You say a Ray Bentley type player, but he is a player in his own right. He's a BDG Hollywood type player because he just dominates teams on the, he just dominates defense. It's really tough. Stephen Hacker's amazing wide receiver as well. Thing is, I think Marcus is in for the MVP. So I think when you're looking at an offensive player of the year, it's more about it's about what you do purely on the offensive side of the ball, whereas maybe someone like Marcus can, I don't know, he G's up his teams in other ways. Most valuable player does it everywhere, on and off the field. I don't know, Cam. Just tell me who it is. I can't. This is unbearable. Any of these guys could win it.
I agree with you. This was a fun one. Let's see. The Offensive Player of the Year award goes to
Backs in the backfield. Nakai taking
Sudo
the handoff.
Nakai.
This time he's going to get past defenders, and he is gone. 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown. Sudo Nakai. Vancouver Legion putting up even more points.
I think fire was coming out of his butt on that one. Why he was just took one cut and whoop, see you later.
I missed the fire, but yeah.
Watch it on the replay. Right. There's smoke. I mean, look at this. One juke, and then look at the speed. Move. Just turns on the afterburners. There's nobody in the picture when he scores.
That, Liam, is my favorite call of the year. That call makes me laugh every time. Look at on the replay. There's smoke. Matt Wilson is he is a wonder to this world. Sudo Nakai gets Offensive Player of the Year, well deserved, and Vancouver gets on the board tonight as well. So congrats to the Legion and Sudo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Congratulations. I think in my heart of hearts, it was going to go to Sudo Nakai. I mean, even in the chat, Andy's raising eyebrows maybe at my comment about playing Sudo Nakai in a power running type game. It's just because, the way that running backs have evolved in this league, and I've been a big advocate of finesse running backs, but it's all about not only having a finesse running back, someone who can dodge past defenders like you saw there, but also to be able to break out of tackles. And, the way that running backs have evolved over the past few seasons, you maybe will not see someone of the Reggie Streeter type of build anymore, where you've got someone who is he's basically a power running back in a finesse running back's body, or maybe vice versa. I'm mixing up my words. I'm just so infused by a running back winning the award that I can't even get my head around it. But it's such an evolving position, but it's one that's up to the most scrutiny, running back. And I think for me, with some of the play that we see, I just want to say, just leave the running backs alone. Just let them roam. Just be free to run over defenses like they've always been allowed to. So, but congratulations to Sudo Nakai, really well deserved. All those guys, again, such a great slate of players on that list. It could have been any of them.
All right, to the most valuable player, here are the nominees. As we wrap up SFL Honors here tonight, we've already gone over 4 of them. Now, Jeff Duffy is also included on that list, but he already won Defensive Player of the Year award, so spoiler alert, he can't win MVP. But we've talked about all 5 of these guys. Is there a chance, Liam, there's only 3 guys eligible. Is there a chance there's an upset here, or is Marcus taking this?
No, there's not going to be an upset. Marcus is going to win it.
What would you do if there was an upset?
I think I haven't got any hats near me, so I'm probably going to have to procure one to eat. But it's been, we mentioned it earlier, it's been an Atlanta show, and most valuable player of the year has surely got to go to Marcus Dunhill. And like I said earlier, when it came to offensive player of the year, most valuable player, I think it's difficult to know how exactly to define that, because it's a very much, I'm putting my British hat on here. Most valuable player, what exactly does that mean? Are we talking about someone who is purely on the field performance? Are we talking about someone who is all around like the guy, the most valuable player? And I think there's no doubt in my mind that Marcus was it in Atlanta. So let's just put the trophy in his hands now. Let's give that Atlanta Swarm trophy cabinet another award. I'm sure it's probably full to brimming at this point of the evening, but let's go. Let's see who gets it.
Asking Americans what most valuable player means is like asking Americans what large means. We don't know. It depends on where you go. We don't know the answer. Depends on who you ask. All right.
No comment.
But most valuable player is of season 14. Let's go. First to go at the 7. There you
Marcus
see him in the
Dunhill.
slot. Dunhill will fire it out. Falco! Touchdown for Atlanta! Right on cue, his first career postseason touchdown.
He must have heard you talking, buddy, because there he is. Siege Falco had something to say about that. And there he goes with the call. Ladies and gentlemen, Siege Falco touchdown. A nice throw by Dunhill on the play. Falco gets in for a touchdown.
Back to back touchdown drives in the second half after it was almost halftime, and it was 3-3.
That all I can tell is it looks like they woke up just a little bit, and Falco wanted his piece of the cake. Dunhill, a nicely orchestrated drive, help from BDG Hollywood, Boo Chisholm, and Siege Falco puts the icing on the cake.
So Dunhill wins MVP. Congratulations to Marcus Dunhill, and Atlanta racks up 4 awards tonight: Franchise of the Year, MVP, Moment of the Year, and I'm missing one, Liam, the Coach of the Year. So 4 of them go to Atlanta. It was an Atlanta-type night, as we might have expected, but lots of other teams represented as well. And as we wrap up the evening, Liam, your final thoughts on this honors show, and what are we going to see next year? What do you think?
Well, that's the real question, isn't it? I've got no idea. I've really got no. I think that losing a guy who has just won the MVP, that is such an interesting question for Atlanta to consider, and to be in the frame for the offensive rookie of the year. That creates such another dynamic in terms of what is going to happen. Is Johnny Pickler going to go to Atlanta and join a team which has won so much this season, and basically have, surely if you're going into that situation, you've got playoff at the bare minimum, or you've got the chance of going to your coach's new team. Someone who went from St. Louis in Gerald Smith and has now got his own franchise to build in Louisiana. It's such an interesting dynamic, but every season in the SFL is competitive, and I expect there to be no change in that this coming season. It was interesting to me. It's been a disappointing season for London, no doubt about it. But I'm really optimistic because I've got guys who built their player up last season and they're committed to our project. And teams around the SFL will be doing that. If they can't come off a bit of a down year, they've not necessarily played so well, but they're looking forward. And that's really the key thing. You've got to keep building, you've got to keep working, trying to reach the pinnacle where Atlanta are sitting at the moment. They're standing with that flag, and it's going to be trying to push them off and trying to get that championship ring. So it's going to be interesting to see what exactly happens. It's impossible to predict, but I'm hoping it will go for a little better for London. I'm pretty sure it will do, but we got an exciting few weeks ahead with the end of the SFLM. and leading up to the SFL draft. But first of all, we got to get past the All-Star Game, and I'm really excited for that. So, go East All-Stars.
So here's the upcoming SFL calendar. Tomorrow, 5 Eastern on 11 Sports and For the Fans is the highly anticipated SFL All-Star Game between the East and the West. On Tuesday, June 2nd, you have the schedule release show, 7 Eastern, 6 Central on 11 Sports and For the Fans. That's a 1-hour look at the show. And then I believe Johnny Pickler and Dave Axis will be talking and breaking down the show immediately after on the Weekly Heat. And then Wednesday is week 7 of SFLM, and we've got a big matchup between, I believe, Ottawa and Madison, among many other games. So another exciting week of action. Just tons of events right now in this part of the SFL calendar, and we welcome you to stay tuned and to listen to all of it. So for London Knights owner Liam Crowder, I'm SFL Commissioner Cameron Irvine. This has been a presentation of the Simulation Football League and the SFL Network on YouTube. Congratulations to all that won and all who were honored tonight. Thanks for #making an impact all season long in our 14th season. 15th anniversary season, less than 50 days away from kickoff. You find out who you play on Tuesday. For all of us at the SFL, good night, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Night, everybody.